So the last question I have is, I've been focusing on keeping my back relaxed during exercise. Awesome. But I find it hard. It is hard. It really is hard. Do you have any tips, or is it just a question of progressing slowly? Okay, so when you are lying on your back doing your core exercises, so in the supine position, so that's with the heel slides, the leg extensions, the dead bugs, all of those things, your back shouldn't fire. So you're lying on the ground, so your back muscles don't need to support you because the ground is supporting you. You're not working against gravity here. So one thing that I have found that works really well is making sure your pelvis is in the correct alignment. So even before you start, get yourself set up. You may need to tilt your pelvis under slightly just to relax your back onto the ground. Now, with your back, when you're lying on the ground, you should be able to slide your hand under, because your back has a natural curve. So I don't want you to squish your back onto the ground, because that causes a lot of other issues. So there should be a natural curve in your back, and you should be able to slide your fingertips under there to about this sort of position. And you should be able to do it on both sides because you should be even, okay? What you shouldn't be able to do is like stick your whole arm under your back. If you can stick your whole arm under your back, you need to maybe squeeze your glutes and tilt your pelvis just slightly, so that you can stick just the hand. So when you put your fingertips under your back, you should be able to feel your back on it, like this, but not like I can't get my fingertips under, okay? So there's the big difference. Now, what I do if I'm starting a new exercise, or if I'm unsure if my back is firing or not, is I'll slide my hand under so my fingertips are up, and I'll check my back. I'll just squeeze my back, and those muscles should be soft, and you should be able to squeeze them. And then I'll keep my hand there whilst I'm doing my exercises and just check that my back isn't firing like this. And what you'll do is you'll feel the back either tense, or you will feel it come off your hand, okay? So if you feel it's coming off your hand, then your back is tensing and you're firing or using your pelvis instead of the front of your core. So that's how you can check that your back isn't firing. So start with that. Then, how does it get better? It does get better because your core will get stronger. So if you are not firing your back, that means the front of your core has to do all of the work. And I've had people who've been like, I can plank and nothing makes my core hurt. And then we get their pelvis into the right alignment and try some like little leg extensions. And they're like, whoa, I'm feeling my core for the first time, because in a plank position, they were using their glutes, they were using their back, they were using everything except the front of their core to work that, because their core was actually weak. And when one part of your body is weak, the rest of the body tries to compensate for it, okay? So that's why you need to progress through the exercises and not just go, I used to be able to plank, so I'm just going to work on planks until I can plank again. Because if you do that, all you're working is every other muscle, not the front of your core, okay? So that's why we don't jump stages. And that's the same, even once you've like regained a functional core, you don't jump a phase. You still work in progressions so that the correct muscles are working all the time, not the incorrect muscles. Otherwise, you just end up with that imbalance and have to go back and work it all out again. All right, so we are in a supine position. We're checking our back isn't firing. We're making sure our pelvis is in a correct alignment. That's probably the key. Then you can do your work, making sure that you're breathing correctly. So when you are breathing correctly, what will happen, because remember we've got our hand under our back, what will happen is on the inhale, you should feel like your back squishes into your hand a little bit, okay? Because remember, on our inhale, we get back expansion. So our inhale, our back squishes onto our hand, relaxed, so not a tense back, a nice squishy back. And then on the exhale, it will tighten or come off the hand. Not the muscle won't tighten, but everything, remember on that inhale, everything expands. On that exhale, everything contracts. So it will come slightly off the hand again. Still squishy, but slightly off the hand. What I find most people do is they do their inhale and the back comes off the hand, and then on the exhale comes back down onto the hand, okay? So you need to think about everything is inhale into the hand, exhale just release off the hand slightly. Now the reason for this is because if you're doing your core work and the front of your core is contracted and tight and engaged, the air won't be going into your belly. Okay, so on that inhale, you get nothing into your belly. It's all into the back and sides. So if it goes only into the back and sides, it's going to squish down onto your hand because that's under your back. Okay, and then on the exhale, we just pull up a little bit more, so engage just a touch more, because you would have lost a little bit of engagement, and then do our harder part of the movement. And we don't release that. So for the whole set, or as many as you can do, so the many reps as you can do, you don't release the front of your core. You breathe into the back, pull up a little more, into the back, pull up a little bit more. Now each time you do that inhale, and it's coming down onto your hand, it's actually relaxing your back. So it's going to stop your back from firing. If you do that inhale and your back comes off the ground and then you exhale, you actually start your back firing and working. Okay, so the back shouldn't move except for that inhale squishing down a little bit. Okay, and then it's all about the number of times you do it and the stronger your core gets. So as you progress, it will be much easier for your back not to fire because the front of your core is going to be much stronger. The one thing I want to remind you is between sets, you need to do a couple of really big, good inhale and exhales to relax the pelvic floor. Because when you stay engaged for a set of core work, your pelvic floor stays tight. Okay, because remember, as we engage, our pelvic floor comes up, engaging with our TVAs, everything's tight and tense. So think about bicep muscle, tight and tense, all the way through those reps. Then between sets, you need to release it, okay? Because otherwise, if you keep everything tight all the time, it starts becoming an over-tight pelvic floor, which can cause you pelvic floor issues. So this is why between your core work, you need a good release, so a good relax of the pelvic floor before you re-engage again. And when you're doing a lot of core work, you also need to do a lot of breathing work, which is working your pelvic floor with your core. So releasing, relaxing, and engaging with those big, good breaths. So 90-90 breathing, overhead breathing, full squat breathing, whichever breathing you need to do to help your body, you need to be doing that, even if it's just sitting there or lying on your back for 5-10 minutes doing some meditation to relax everything. It's just as important as your core work because the relaxing is as important as the engaging, okay? Everybody's like, I need to get tight, 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 and they forget to relax, relax, relax. Okay, so you need to do both. So I hope that helped with the back, but yeah, as you go, you'll progress, it'll be easier. Now, when you're standing or doing front loading, it's a little different because you're now working against gravity, so your back actually needs to fire a little bit. So if you're standing up doing core work, check what your back feels like. It should have a little tension, it won't be as squishy because you're standing upright, so your back muscles need to be working. So you're going to be standing upright, feel what they feel like, then do your core work, and they shouldn't change, okay? Unless you're doing, I don't know, deadlifts or something like that as part of core. Because remember, the weights program is still core work because you're working your core with every deadlift, with every squat. So there will be some movement. So this is an easier thing to work on lying on your ground because you know your back doesn't have to work. Seated, slightly easier. Again, and then standing, your back has to do a lot of work to keep you upright. So just make sure it's not overworking, but if you have your core work on the ground correct, then you are likely to be fine when you're standing as well because you've trained your core correctly. So I hope that helped.